Blog Talk Radio.
Smith here, one child abuse survivor to another restoration. And Monday morning, November 27th, 2017, 7:30 here in the morning, Calgary, Alberta. Glad to be here. Glad to be doing these shows. I really enjoy doing these shows, and hopefully they're helpful for somebody else. It's just a morning reflection, really. Just looking at some positive reinforcement, self-care, coping mechanisms, things like that. Just to sort of help us through our healing journey, so hopefully it's helping you. Hopefully you had a good weekend. Mine was good. I had a great weekend, actually. I feel a lot more rested and a lot better as this last couple of weeks have rolled on here, and since my break. And so yeah, we'll just get right into this. If you're a survivor and you're not sure if you're safe enough really to be listening to this information, it wouldn't trigger you or something, anything like this, you need to get the information on safety first. So you can get that at ASCA, Adult Survivors of Child Abuse and Morris Center program. And it's a free download, or you can just read it right on their site. There's a safety first chapter in their Survivor to Thriver workbook, and it's like 60 pages long, but it's really worth reading. And then you'll know how to keep yourself safe and how to know whether you should be listening to something like this, whether it's going to trigger you or not, whether you're safe enough to be listening so you don't hurt yourself or hurt somebody else or have a miserable day or just go backward in your healing journey, which nobody wants. So make the right decision for yourself. If you're not sure if you're safe enough, just turn it off. You won't be hurting my feelings. Get some help with this, get help. And if you're anybody else and you're listening, just listen at your own discretion. Ultimately, it's your decision to listen. I'm talking about abuse, child abuse. It's a very disturbing topic. It can bother most people, can cause people to become uncomfortable. So if you're not sure whether you should be listening, then you should turn the show off. And ultimately, the decision is yours whether or not to listen to, topics about abuse and violence and child sexual abuse and horrible things like that. We all have to make the right decision for ourselves. So you have to know what's good for you to listen to. So if you're not sure if these topics might bother you, then you turn the show off, and you wouldn't be hurting my feelings at all. So we'll get right into this. We left off on Friday. We're still looking at the section in Havoka's information on anxiety. And you can get that from Havoka. That's Help for Adult Victims of Child Abuse, HAVOCA. Information for Survivors tab. Look under that tab on their website. That's havoka.org. And then you'll see their anxiety tab, and you can click on that. And it brings up their information on anxiety. We're looking at what can we do. We looked at understanding anxiety on Friday. Now we're going to pick up what can we do. So they say here, I'm just reading right from their webpage. Oh, first we want to ask ourselves how we're doing. Morning reflection, how am I doing on my healing journey? How are we doing? Any particular things we need to work on? How are we feeling? I'm feeling pretty good this morning, actually. Not too bad. I don't sleep well most of the time, especially on Sunday nights. So I didn't have a very good sleep, but that's all right because that's just the way it is. Otherwise, I feel pretty good because I had a kind of a relaxing weekend. I had a lot of stuff to do last week, but this weekend was pretty good because I did get a little bit of time to relax, and that was good. And I'm feeling pretty good, not as triggered as I was last week. Last week I was really quite triggered because of a movie that I saw. I was talking about that on Friday. And so, yeah, I've got a lot less triggers going on, and I feel pretty good this morning. So, we can sort of do like a little check-in to see how we're doing. So, yeah, I feel pretty good. I'm excited about the week and looking forward to getting things done and also just to get, enjoying the season, right? I like December's a cool month, and I'm looking forward to the month of December. So the end of November's coming up here, and I'm sort of looking forward to December. So sort of getting excited for the holiday season and whatnot. So it's kind of nice. So we'll pick up with this article. What can we do? This section of it from Havoka. And they say here, anxiety can make it hard for us to cope with day-to-day demands on us. We may become isolated from other people. We may feel very frightened at what is happening to us, yet don't know how to change. And it can be very draining to be so tense and fraught all the time. And more will be said later about getting help from other people, but there are steps we can take ourselves to reduce our anxiety. And this can take courage, and we may have to keep trying. It may be that whatever action we take will make us more anxious to begin with, and this should decrease with time. But in the early stages, we may find that we need to use support from other people to help us keep up our own efforts, right? So they say what helps may be different for each of us, but other people have said they found these things useful. Well, that's just it. I mean, everybody's different. And what works for me may not work for somebody else. What works for somebody else may not work for me, more than likely, because we're all different. We've all been through different things, and we're all facing different things, right? And even though we, may be struggling with some anxiety issues, it's all going to be different, right? So some of these things may be useful, some of them not, but at least it's ideas, right? So they said here, what helps may be different for each of us, but other people have said they found these things useful. So they list them off here. One is try to concentrate on the here and now, and not concern yourself too much with what if, quote unquote, what if. So try to concentrate on the here and now and not concern yourself too much with what if. Yeah, I suppose that's important, trying to stay in the present. That's hard for, it can be difficult for survivors. I know for myself I had a hard time staying in the present, especially when I first started my healing journey and before that ever, all the way back, because it was just difficult for me to stay in the present. I'm actually much better at it now, because I've actually done a lot of work in that area of just learning to drop whatever it is that I used to allow to sort of take over my life, and actually just be present in the here and the now, and just work and do my thing, and then go back and pick it up at a later time, or a date when I actually have time to deal with it. I'm getting really good at that now, but I didn't used to be so good at that. And so I think that's important. I like what they have to say there. Another one is find someone you can talk to about how you feel and use their support to talk through your feelings. I think it's very important. That's why I'm doing this show. I just talk live on here because I really hope that to reach other people who are struggling and don't have anybody to talk to, because there's some validation in that. I'm just a survivor. I'm just one survivor out here willing to talk about this stuff. And actually it helps me to talk through this. It helps me to put my feelings in perspective where they need to go, and also organize my thoughts and stuff. So I find it very helpful to, instead of talking to a person, I'm just talking on Blog Talk Radio to anybody who's listening. So it's like, it's the same idea. And, I think it's very helpful. This is a big part of my healing journey. That's why I keep doing this so many years later. And so, I had a lot of anger, a lot of problems with that in the beginning. And some of my early shows reflect that. You can tell. I had some serious problems with some anger, but I'm actually getting, quite a ways through my healing journey now, and I'm feeling really quite well. And, it's a good feeling to be on this side of it, but I know what it's like to be on the other side. That's why I keep doing these shows also, because, I'm hoping that, it'll help somebody out there, right? So it says, find someone you can talk to about how you feel and use their support to talk through your feelings. Support groups are really important, and I think, there are like anonymous support groups out there, and I actually host one of those. It's for CSA incest. It's a support group, and it's just anonymous, and it's online. I don't have time to organize meetings in the city and stuff like that, I just do it online because then it just works easier. But the thing is there are support groups out there that you can hopefully in your area you can get involved with. But if you don't have anything in your own area, there's stuff online you can do, and it's actually anonymous and more than likely free. So there are people you can talk to. There's ways you can get help, and just there's for all types of issues and problems. You wouldn't believe. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff out there, but you have to look around, and it takes time sometimes to find something. But eventually, you probably would find something if you keep looking, right? And then if it doesn't work for you, just keep looking, because not all of it's maybe exactly what we thought it was, or it's not going to work, whatever. Just keep looking, or start your own group. ASCA, Adult Survivors of Child Abuse, they're always looking for people to start groups, and there's lots of groups that are out there that you can start your own group in your own area, right? Because it's very helpful to talk with people. Right? So they said here, work out whether there are any specific situations you find particularly alarming. Set yourself targets so that you can gradually work at confronting these situations and getting the better of them. Right? Yeah, this is important. I mean, work out whether there are any specific situations you find particularly alarming. So, as far as what's causing anxiety in our lives, this would be things that could be really problems that are, something needs to be done. It could be even more abuse as an adult from somebody that we just can't confront, or we don't know how to confront, or we just keep wanting to run away from, or whatever. Set yourself targets so that you can gradually work at confronting these situations and getting the better of them. And that's kind of what happened to me. And years ago, I talked about it a long, long time ago, but I had a situation at a job, and this life coach actually helped me out, and really pointed out, without even really knowing my situation that much. I mean, I did tell her I was an abuse survivor, so I was abused as a child, and I said I just really don't handle people screaming at me very well. I said this woman was just acting like my mother, and it just freaked me out. My boss had freaked out on me, started screaming at me, and kind of tossed me out of the office. Not physically, but just told me to leave. So I was just like, oh, wow, man, I can't even go back there. So this lady was like, well, you can keep running. That's probably what you've been doing your whole life is running. And you could keep running, but it's you have rights. You have rights in that. You can stand up for yourself. You have rights, and you can get those rights, your needs met. You don't have to keep running. Not as an adult. Like as a child, I'm sure you had to do whatever you had to do to survive. But as an adult, you got to realize you do have rights, and you have ways that you can confront this stuff with and actually get your needs met. And that was so helpful for me because I was, what was I, like 44 years old or something, or 43 years old, and I'm still running, So it kind of helped me see, like, wow, that's what I've been doing. I didn't even realize, even though I left and moved 2,000 miles north from where I was and moved to another country, I was running, man. As an adult, I ran as a child and I used to get beat. So then as an adult, I'm like, I'm running because it works, But what worked for me in the past doesn't work for me now. It's like, can't keep running, right? And so I'm learning how to confront these situations. I think that's very important. So I like what they have to say here about that. They said, set your own pace. No one can force you to do anything. You'll find you gradually gain confidence in your ability to cope. And that's the truth. No one can force you to do anything. We should not be allowing people to force us to do anything as adults. As children, we're forced to do whatever we're forced to do. But we can work at our own pace. We can get our needs met. This is so important. And if something's not working for you, and you get involved with something that you think is going to be helpful, you have the right to be your own best advocate. You know what's the best for you, and you need to find trustworthy people, that are helpful, not harmful, right? And so so that we don't become re-victimized. That's very, very important. Not to allow ourselves to be re-victimized over and over and over again, right? Because it's so easy for an abuse survivor to be re-victimized later as an adult. So be very, very aware that you have rights and that no one can force you to do anything you don't want to do, and that you are ultimately responsible for your own journey in life, and you need to find people that can help you get there, not people who are going to cause problems for you. And so, you have a right to say no. You have a right to go at your own pace. You have a right to do all of these things, right? So I think that's very important. And another one, learn to relax. This can help you control the level of anxiety you experience so that it is manageable. You can find out more about relaxation techniques from your doctor or counselor or from the organizations listed later. Your local library may be able to supply books or tapes. Learn to relax. This can help you control the level of anxiety experience. So this is very important. That's something that I have a problem with because I always got to stay busy. Busy. I like to be very busy. That way I guess it's just a coping mechanism. Then I don't have a chance to sit around and get stuck in the mud sort of thing. But there is a time when I have to say, okay, I got to sort of relax. I got to take it easy. I can tell when I'm getting sort of burned out and need to take a break and actually do some inflection and looking in and my inner child work or whatever it is that I need to do. That I've actually been putting that off, and I need to go back and do some of that. So there's ways that we can relax, and whatever it is, there's books or tapes on that, on how a person can learn to relax and be, calm and at peace in whatever surroundings you're in. It can happen, unless we're sitting in an abusive environment, right? As children, this is the problem with abuse, man. It's like, especially if you grow up in an abusive home and you just live your whole life like that, there is no relaxation, so you never learn how to do it. And so, as an adult, it's hard to actually allow ourselves to do that. And it's I'm getting older, so it's much easier for me now to do this stuff than it was when I was younger. And so mainly I used to relax kind of away from my home. If I wasn't around my immediate home or immediate family, I was actually quite relaxed. But the minute I got back in that environment, it was all back again because nothing ever changed. So if I was hanging with my friends for the day, I could relax a bit, and just enjoy the time with my friends. But when I went back home, it's just back into the abuse. So, it's tough on the body. It's tough on the mind. So as an adult, we need to learn how to relax and how to be able to relax when we need to. Take some time, So, yeah, I like what they have to say here. And the next one, allow yourself a breathing space. Do something you really enjoy or treat yourself. Perhaps there's something you used to like doing but haven't done for a while. So allow yourself a breathing space. Do something you really enjoy or treat yourself. That's something that I do. I don't have a problem with that. If I need space, I just take it. I just make sure that I get it. And without being mean or hurtful or rude or whatever's going on in my life with whoever I'm around. Sometimes I got to take a break, and that's all there is to it. Sometimes you just got to take that space, and I usually have a certain period of time in the morning where I do that. If I get up early, just so I can have some breathing space on my own, and then at night before I go to bed, I usually have some more of that breathing space. I have my own time just to relax and take it easy, and do whatever, study, read, whatever, or just sit and listen to something, or just relax and take it easy. They said do something you really enjoy or treat yourself. That I don't have a problem with. Like, I treat myself really well because I was not treated well as a child at all, ever. And so if I want something, if it's not going to be detrimental to my health, I'll get it. I do treat myself well, and I like to treat other people well too. And so I enjoy doing nice things for other people, but I also enjoy doing nice things for myself. So I don't have a problem with that, but I know some people might. And they say here, take a step back and think about how you live your life. If you're overloaded, work out what's most important to you and shed what is not important. So I like what they have to say there. Take a step back, think about how you live your life. If you're overloaded, work out what's most important to you and shed what's not important. I have to do that quite often because I'm always, like I said, I'm a bit of I don't want to say an overachiever because I'm not an overachiever. Not doing it for accolades. I stay busy all the time because I like to be really busy, things going all the time. lots of irons in the pan, whatever the fire irons in the pan or whatever pans in the fire or whatever you want to call that. Just stay busy, so that I don't have to stop and think too much. It's just a habit, so I have to work on slowing down, and that's sometimes I do have to take a step back and say, "Whoa, okay, wait a minute. What have I got going on in my life, right? That's just a little too much." And if I'm overloaded, that's what I do. I just prioritize. Okay, what has to be done? What doesn't need to be done? Some stuff's just not that important. It can wait, and other things that are more important need to get done. So that takes some of the anxiety off, because as long as the stuff that really needs to get done is getting done, then that helps with the overload situation. It's kind of like, okay, at least the other stuff didn't matter anyway, so it can just wait. It sits on the back burner. This other stuff just has to get done, so I'll just do this. But I find that I'm a very busy person, just like most people, and I have a hard time keeping all these things sort of straight. So I have to keep lists and calendars, and this has got to be done like this week, and this other stuff can just wait. I'm just incredibly busy, like most people. So if I wasn't doing that, I can imagine the stress would be much, much higher. If I wasn't prioritizing and actually taking a look at all this stuff, it takes a few minutes to do it, but it's worth it, because then I'm not sitting around trying to put out fires because I didn't get this done or didn't get that done or whatever. That's terrible. I kind of used to live like that, and now I'm like, oh no, I'd rather be more organized and at least get the things done that need to be done and not worry about the other stuff, because the other stuff can just do at some other time, right? So it's very important to keep those really important things sort of done, because otherwise they start to pile up, and then pretty soon you got too many things happening that should have been done, and you got people possibly problems because of it. If bills aren't getting paid because we just don't pay them, it's like, okay, oh, I forgot to pay that. Oh, I didn't do this. Oh, I didn't do that. So I keep track of everything very closely and push back stuff that doesn't need to be done, and put up front what really seriously needs to be done. That does take a lot of the load off. It takes a lot of the stress off and a lot of the anxiety. So I think some of these things is very helpful. I like this list of stuff that they have here. We'll pick up the rest of this on Friday. You can go check it out, havoca.org, HAVOCA, Help for Adult Victims of Child Abuse, havoca.org. And just look under their information for survivor tab under anxiety. You can find the rest of that list. It's just a short piece left, but we'll pick up the rest of it and then we'll move on from there. So here's positive reinforcement. What are we doing right in our daily walk? Looking at positives and progress instead of negatives. Yeah, this is important, because it's too easy to get down on ourselves. It's too easy to say, oh, I didn't get this done, and I'm not getting that done, and this isn't working, and I'm just a loser anyway. And that's so easy, because if we're survivors of abuse, then that's kind of go back into that feeling of how we felt maybe as a child or as a youth or whatever, or while we were being abused, sort of thing. It's too easy to get down on ourselves, which then causes problems, I think, with we have to look at some positive reinforcement too, right? And so I like looking at these positive affirmations and sort of take a look at what I'm doing right. I just think, just staying on my healing journey is really positive, and just the fact that I'm, still finding some joy in life, and I'm still waking up and excited to be here, and I'm still, I'm happy to be here, right? And that's, to me, I think that's a bonus. That's a positive. That's progress, And so just these little things are very important, right? And here's a positive affirmation from Havoca, self-esteem affirmations. This one says, I have complete and unconditional worth as a person in this universe. I have complete and unconditional worth as a person in this universe. I really like that, because that's absolutely true. I have complete and unconditional worth as a person, just like everybody else in this universe, And, we all do, right? And unfortunately, there's someone in our past, or possibly several people, or someone in our past may have made us feel that that's not true. At some point, obviously I felt that I wasn't worthy as a person, and that I didn't deserve to be here, and I was just worthless and useless. It's too easy to go back to that, because that's how I felt for my whole life, until I got away from my abusers, really, and started to realize that, no, what they said was incredibly wrong, and what they did was incredibly wrong. And they damaged me to my very core, It's taken me a lot to get where I am today, to be able to say, no, that was so wrong for them to do that, to make me feel that I wasn't worthy, that I was a loser, that I should have been born dead and stillborn, and they never wanted me in the first place, and I was just a rape child, and I was just useless. And then my siblings would just reinforce it. Yeah, I'm just this idiot kid. I'm just a loser. I'm never going to make it. Um, you know, just whatever they feel, however they feel about me. It basically what it comes down to is I had to sort of say, you know what, I don't care what those people thought about me. Those people, I mean, it was my family, but I don't even want to call them that. They were just evil, right? Like, what really matters to me is how I look at myself, right? And this is what started my healing journey. Really, was this view of saying, who am I apart from this abuse? Like that was put on me. You know what I mean? That wasn't my fault. Like, I need to have a good life. I need to learn to love myself. I need to care about myself and not care what these other people, these abusers, said to me or did to me. That was wrong. And so, yeah, I have complete and unconditional worth as a person in this universe. And I think it's just more important to say I am a complete and unconditional worthy person in this universe. It's not having worth, it's being worthy. I am worthy to be here, just like everybody else. I didn't deserve to be treated that way. Nobody does. And, these things are horrible, what happens to people, survivors of abuse. We know because we've been there. And this is completely wrong what they did to our very core of our being, And so we have to know and understand that we are completely and unconditionally worthy as a person to be here, I do count, I do matter. That's why I always throw that into these shows usually at some point. I used to all the time, I used to say, I do count, I do matter, and so do you, right? Just like everybody else. And the abuse and the abusers just wore us down to the point where we didn't feel that we mattered or that we were worth anything. Even today I could look at that today and say, well, I wasn't worth anything to my parents. I mean, I really wasn't. None of their children were, right? And it wasn't anything really worth anything to my siblings. Well, they were all abused too, and really psychologically screwed up as well. So, I could look and say that, but does that make me a worthy person just because they treated me wrong and treated me completely horribly? No. My worth is not based on the way that they treated me. It's not based on the abuse. I am a worthy person to be here on this planet. And that's something that, we need to remember every single day. We are worthy as a person in this universe to be here just like everybody else, right? And we deserve to be treated with dignity, with kindness, with respect, the same dignity and the same kindness, the same respect, and the same care and empathy that we would treat other people with. That's the treatment that we should get back, right? So, as a person on the planet, I do deserve to be here. Absolutely. And, it's up to me to make sure that I get my needs met, because obviously they weren't met as a child and they weren't met as a youth, and that I didn't know how to meet them all the way through, until I started my healing journey. But we can do something now to make sure that we remember that we're worthy of these things. We're worthy of life. We did not deserve to be treated that way or told or made to feel those horrible things that they made us feel. It's incredibly wrong. And what's really great is to see this from the other side and say, you know what? It's so incredibly right that I'm getting help. It's so incredibly right that I'm doing something to move in a positive direction to help myself, right? So you've got to do that for yourself. Nobody's going to do it for you. And you need to make sure that you're getting your needs met. So, like, you have the rest of this week here, as we all do. And make sure, like, if you're struggling and you're having a hard time, you call a crisis line. You call somebody. You call an anonymous support group. You do whatever you have to do. But you stick it out and you get some help, because you are worthy and so am I. Have a great and wonderful week, everybody. We'll talk to you on Friday, hopefully. I should be here. And I hope that you will be too. Take good care of yourself, okay?
Previously on Co-op's As the Cookie Crumbles, Brad makes a surprise return.
Brad, I thought you were gone. You were dipped in milk. Your arm was nibbled off.
That was all a dream, Ginger. You've been in a coma. A food coma.
This episode brought to you by Co-op. Today, Robin Hood All-Purpose Flour, 10 kilos, $8.99. And Butterball turkeys, basted and stuffed, only $1.49 per pound. Avoid the drama with holidays made easy at Co-op.